Alright, over the next few days we're going to be talking about quadratic equations, and I'm going to show you some different ways to deal with them depending on whatever they present you with. They kind of, I always say, it's kind of like football. They're going to show you all kinds of different formations, and really it's just the same thing. And it's the same thing with quadratic equations. Our essential question is going to be, what strategies are used to find the solution or solutions of a quadratic equation? SPI, find the solution of a quadratic equation and or zeros of a quadratic function. As we do that, we're going to hop in that today. In thinking about what a quadratic equation is as your activator, I just want you to think for just a minute. Take about 30 seconds to a minute I'm going to give to you to just think. What do you already know about quadratic equation? What do you know about quadratics? What do you know about equations? I just want terms that we've dealt with throughout the year to kind of come to your mind. I know you don't know exactly what quadratic equations are, and that's okay. That's why, hence, we're going to learn it here in just a minute. But so I want to give you a couple, just about a minute. Just think about it, and if when I'm playing this during class, you will actually come up, and I'm going to have you guys to write some stuff up here. But if you're not in class, if you're home or wherever, you can write it down on a piece of paper or whatever. Just take a minute. Just think back to what do you already know about equations? What do you think a quadratic equation will look like? Alright, as we look through here, here's some things about quadratic equations. As we do this graphic organizer, you might want to take good note on this one, because you may see this one again except blank, and that is a hint. Quadratic equation where you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a cannot equal 0. For example, let me give you an example. This could be 4x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. Just numbers go in here for the a, b, and c. The rule is a cannot equal 0. So you cannot have 0x squared plus 2x plus 3. Just can't happen. So that's the quadratic equation, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Key thing there is, in quadratic equations, it's going to equal 0. And that's the standard form. I know we've been dealing with when we talk about equations. We've dealing with the standard form of all kinds of different things throughout the year. This is just another standard form for you. The standard form for quadratic equation. Again, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c can be any number except a cannot be 0. All right. As we look at the different types here, two solutions of quadratic equation. Well, I have x squared minus 1 equals 0. And we're going to look at this in more detail here soon. I just kind of want to give you a picture. The fact is, there's going to be three different things. You're either going to have two solutions, one solution, or no solution. The x squared minus 1 equals 0. Your solutions, if you look here, it's going to be 1 and negative 1, where it crosses the x-axis on both. And you'll understand more of what that means here in just a few minutes. But the key thing here is, where does this line cross the x-axis? There's going to be your solution or solutions. When you look at one solution, you have x squared. There is no y-intercept with x squared. So you notice the one solution is just going to be 0. And then if you have no solutions, here x squared plus 1, 1 being the y-intercept equals 0. Well, it doesn't cross the x-axis anywhere. So you won't have a solution. You get into what's called imaginary numbers, and we're not going to get into that now. That's something you will learn later in another class. Alright, so let's go on here. Look at our problem. How do I find the solution by graphing? X squared minus 1 equals 0. Well, a couple different ways we can do this, and I'm going to show you by graphing. One thing you can do is draw your table, and I know this is a little more time consuming, but it works, and you will have exact numbers. So over here I can say my x value, then I can say x squared minus 1, and this is going to be my x and y, my coordinate pair, to actually graph. Like I said, I may show this on all of them. I'm going to show you how to do it on a calculator. And as we get into next couple days, you're going to see the quadratic formula. You're going to see how to factor. So you're going to be able to see all these different ways to do the problems that they give to you. And some of it's just going to be a matter of what you choose and what you're more comfortable with. So here we go, x squared minus 1. So again, I'm going to say go ahead and put negative 1, 0, 1, and I'll even go to 2. Well, negative 1 squared, any negative, it's going to be 1 minus 1 is 0. So I have 1 minus 1 equals 0. So negative 1, 0. That's my first coordinate pair. Substitute 0 in here. 0 squared, well, 0 minus 1, negative 1. So I have a coordinate pair of 0, negative 1. Substitute the 1 in for the x. 1 squared minus 1, well, 1 squared is 1, minus 1, so I have 0. And then I can substitute the 2 in. 2 squared, 4 minus 1 is 3. Well, finish this out. Now I'm just going to go graph them. I'm going to say negative 1, 0. I'm going to say 0, negative 1. And if you notice that aligns with my y-intercept. 1, 0, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now the wild thing about this is if you notice, you're going to have the reflections. Here we go. I can look here and I can go up, and I know because of the parabola it's going to be negative 2, 3. I put negative 1, 3. So let me go back and erase that. And because here I had 2, 3, so let me go over negative 1, negative 2, 1, 2, 3. And so that way I notice I have my parabola there, and I'm going to go ahead and draw. If I can do this, I think it's probably better if I do it, let the computer actually have better lines than I do. If I can find it, well, I'll just do it different later. It's my line here. It's going to look scribbly there. But I notice, where does that cross the x-axis? Well, it crosses at 1, 0, right? And it crosses at negative 1, 0. So my solution can be written like this: positive or negative 1. That would be my solutions for x squared minus 1 equals 0. Now, here's what I want you to do, especially if you're in my class. I'm going to have you just talk to your partner, just talk them through very slowly. You may not understand this fully yet, and that's okay. And if you have questions, I'm going to stop it and you're going to answer, or I'll answer them. But I want you to try to explain step by step, what did we just do? How did we graph this? And what are the solutions, and how do you tell that there are solutions before we go on to the next problem? We're going to think, pair, share. So I'm going to pause this, and I just want you to think, pair, share this with your partner at your table. If you're at home, tell somebody. Just explain it to somebody that's there, whether they understand it or not. It's just a matter of, if you can explain it, you got it. All right, let's look at this one. Again, we're going to graph. We're going to do the same thing. If I want to put in for the x squared, I say my x, and then I can say just x squared, and then my xy. So I can put negative 1, 0, 1. I can just do 3 there. Negative 1 squared, well, that's going to be 1. So a negative 1, 1. 0 squared, 0. So I have 0, 0. And then 1 squared, well, I have 1. So it's going to be 1, 1. So let me go ahead and graph it. Negative 1, 1. 0, 0. And then 1, 1. Well, if I look there, well, I have my parabola. And where does it cross? Well, there is no y-intercept. So I only have one solution, and that solution is going to be 0. That would be the solution to x squared equals 0. Now let me go to one more, and then we'll back up a little bit, and I will show you how to do some of these on the calculator. And it's just fun. I love messing with the calculator. Again, I want you to understand how to do this, the method to be able to do it, because you're not always going to have a calculator. The calculator is great for checking, and if you're in a hurry, it's a great thing to use and to know both ways. I just want you to know both ways. Alright, how do I find the solution by graphing here? What I want you to do, I'm going to give you a little time here. I want you to work this by yourself, and I want you to tell me the solution. If where does it cross the x-axis? I'm going to give you guys a second. I'll pause this, and then we'll talk about it. Alright, let's look at this. X, so I'll know my x. I'll have x squared plus 1, and then I'll have my x and y, my coordinate pair. Well, I'm going to stick to my -1, 0, 1. And let me just go on with 2. Alright, -1 squared, 1 plus 1, it's going to be 2. So I have -1, 2. 0 squared plus 1, well, that's 1. So I have 1, 0, 1. 1 squared is 1 plus 1. Well, I have 2. 1, 2. And then 2 squared, which is 4, plus the 1, I have 5. So I have the coordinate pair 2, 5. Now let's go back and just graph these. -1, 2. 0, 1, 1, 2, and then I have 2, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I just want to take that and do it on the opposite side, because again, it's simply the reflection. Let me go over 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now if you look, when I connect these, you notice there, the y-intercept, it's going to be a +1. So in this case, it doesn't cross the x-axis, so there can't be a solution. So in this way, there is no solution. And that's as far as we will deal with this for now. So you just need to know right now, if you see that and there is no, the y-intercept is above 0, there is no solution to this. In order for this to be a solution, if this was x squared minus 1, we would have a different story. We would have a couple solutions there, but we don't. So in this case, you have no solution. Let me look at what's ahead here. I'm going to have you guys practice these, but what I want to do, let's go back, and I just want to kind of show you how to do this on a calculator. So I write this down. It's going to be x squared minus 1. So let me go to where you can actually see my calculator. And on your calculator, what I want you to do, go ahead and make sure you clear it first. So if I go x squared minus 1 equals 0, I don't have to say that equals 0. Here I can just say my y equals, I need to clear it. Alright, if I have this, I clear it, and then I will just simply say x squared minus 1. And when I have that, when I say graph it. And if you notice here, when you look at your graph, well, it crosses at the 1, and it crosses at -1. So that's simply as it's graphed on your calculator. If you want to look at it closer, you can zoom in and see the graph actually closer. So let's go back and I will look at the other problem. Go back here. Another problem that we did. X squared equals 0. So if I say here, go back. I'm going to say x squared, because I don't have to put 0. Make this a little bit bigger. And graph. And you will see that your parabola, there's only one solution because there is no y-intercept. It just goes through 0. And that's how you graph that. Now again, we can go back and wrong one. And here we are with this one. X squared plus 1 equals 0. So let's go back to y equals x squared plus 1. Graph. And you will see that on the y-axis you go up 1. So there is no solution to this. You know that simply there is no y, or the y-intercept is a positive, and that can't happen. So alright, so that's kind of where we're at there. Again, what I want you to do with your partner before we do anything else, I want you to go back and just pick one problem. Again, I'm having you explain these a lot, but the more you explain it, the easier it will come. As if you can explain it, you've got it. So what I want you to do, go ahead and choose one of the problems we've done. It can be the no solution, one solution, two solutions, and I want you to explain it to your partner. Think, pair, share. Think for a second, take about 20 seconds and think about how you want to present it and how to do it. Assume your partner knows nothing, because if you can explain it to them, I'm telling you, you've got it. Alright, we're going to work through a couple of these, and you notice, and it's going to be interesting here, because on your calculator, when we get to it, I'll show you something that's kind of interesting about that as well here in just a minute. Alright, x squared minus 16 equals 0. Again, we will work through a couple of these. I don't mind to do this. We're getting into, once in a while you'll see some real low y-intercepts, or even some pretty big ones. So let's do this. You have x, and then x squared minus 16, and I'll have my coordinate pair. So here we go. My x, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And I'm going to go ahead and draw some lines across, so I don't want to get these mixed up. Alright, so negative 1 squared is going to be 1. So, and then of course 1 minus 16 is negative 15. So here we go. I go negative 1, negative 15. 0 squared, 0, minus 16. I have 0, negative 16. 1 squared, again here, is 1 minus 16, 1, 15. 2 squared, 4, minus 16, and I should come up with negative 12. So 2, negative 12. And if you want to do this, you can actually graph the coordinate pairs. I'm going to go ahead and go back and show this on the calculator, and that way I can also show you how to change things. So let's switch this back over real quick. Alright, because we have been practicing how to graph this. I showed you we worked through the table. You have the coordinate pairs, so if you want to draw it out, you can draw out where it would go through. Now, get on the calculator. I know it's going to be x squared minus 16, and I'm going to do the same thing. Nothing's going to change. Okay, I know. So here, when I count over 1, 2, 3, I have 4. So it crosses the x-axis at 4. It also crosses at negative 4. So again, my solutions here are going to be 4, negative 4. I can go plus minus 4. Positive 4, negative 4. Don't just put one, you have to put both, because they are both solutions to the quadratic that you're presented here. The one thing I was wanting to show you, that if you're getting with your calculator and you just want to change, go ahead and hit Window here, and you can see all the max minimums and all of that. Especially right now we're dealing with the y's. Here where it says -10, I'm going to go down and I'm going to change that to -20. Because when I do that, then I say graph, you will be able to see all the way down to the bottom of your parabola. You'll be able to see the minimum. And of course you can still see where it crosses the x-axis at 4 and -4. That's just a quick trick. I just kind of like to show you there. That way you can kind of manipulate your calculator. So in this case, your solution, when you graph it, is going to be plus minus 4. Alright, one more that I want you to do, that we'll do together, and then I'm going to give you a little assignment to do together with your partner. 3x squared plus 6 equals 0. Okay, I can look at this, and it's in standard form, and by looking, I noticed something about that y-intercept. That y-intercept is a positive 6, right? So what does that automatically tell you in your mind? Well, it says I know that if I'm dealing with solutions, I cannot have a positive y-intercept and it have any solutions. So I know it's going to be no solution. But let's test it. We want to make sure, always want to make sure that I'm right and that I didn't just overlook something or confuse it with something. So what I want to do, let's go ahead and make my box. I'll say x, and then I'll say 3x squared plus 6. It is a little bit different because we actually have a number in front of the x squared. We're not just dealing with an x anymore. Then I have my x, y coordinate pair. So again, I'm going to go ahead and choose -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, again, -1 squared, because I have to do that first, order of operations. -1 squared is going to be 1. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 6. -1, 9. Then if I want to go here, 0, 0 squared is 0. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, right? 0 plus 6, I have 6, so I have a coordinate pair of 0, 6. I'll go ahead and write this 1. Okay, 1 squared is 1. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 6, and I have 9. And if you notice here, you can start to see the reflection and how the numbers end up being the same, just on the opposite side there. So 2 squared is going to be 4. So 3 times 4 is 12 plus 6 is 18. Let me check that one just to make sure. 2 squared, yep, 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Yep, we're good. I just want to make sure I was right in my math. Okay, and when I graph that, the one thing I'm going to notice is I have a y-intercept of 6. So graph it, and then I want to go ahead and I'm going to graph it on the calculator. I just want to look at it. There we go. Let me clear this one. So then this time I have 3x squared plus 6. Oh, I gotta go back to my window. I gotta change my minimum back to, just change it back to 10. And you'll notice it goes back, it just goes back to normal. In this case, I go up 6. This is no solution. So my y-intercept was 6. We were right in what we thought, but we just had to check to make sure. Alright. I'm going to skip this one for now. Actually, I'll tell you, let's go ahead and work this one on your own. Take a minute and work this one. I just want to see what we come up with, because it is different. Just going to skip it, but let's just see what we got here. because here's what I want you to see. You have x squared minus 25 equals negative 25. That's not equal to 0. So am I in standard form right now? I'm not. So what I have to do is I have to move something over, right? I need to get this side to 0. So in this case, I'm going to add 25. Because I need it to x squared. And then negative 25 plus 25 equals 0. So I can just say x squared equals 0. Well, there is no y-intercept. So now that I have x squared equals 0, I know that my solution is going to be 0. I do have a solution, and if you want to graph it on the calculator, you can do that to test yourself, and again you're going to get the solution of 0. If you are in class, what you are going to do with your partner, again, I want you to talk. This is a conversation. What are the key terms? What are things that you have heard me say that we've talked about that's important about quadratic equations? Things that you didn't know before, but we do know now. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this. And just talk with each other, discuss what are some things you've learned. Take turns. Maybe you want to say 2 or 3 things, partner A, partner B, say 2 or 3 things back. And then once that's over, what I want you to do is complete the following. On page 551, you're going to do 8, 13, 16, and 18. And as you do that, once you finish, if you finish before the time is out, I want you to go ahead and think pair shared, choose a couple of those, and explain them to each other, because that's the way you will learn this. Alright, now that you've had time to work these problems, if you're in class, we've gone over these. If you're at home, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write the answers up here. That way you can check and say, hey, I got this, or wait a minute, that is nowhere near what I came up with, and you'll need to review your organizer and the things that we've worked through. And if you still have questions, write them down, shoot me an email, tweet it to me, however, and I'll try to answer it. But for number 8, what you should have came up with is plus or minus 3. Number 13. Now this is pretty ironic. I did not mean for this to happen, but it's plus or minus 3. Number 16, you should have come up with plus or minus 2. And then number 18, you should have come up with 0. Now there were no solutions in that one, but keep in mind about the no solutions. If your y-intercept is positive, you have a no solution. Alright, something else now I want to look and kind of turn to just a little bit different way. Some of you may like this method, some of you may not. This is, again, I just want to show you a different method. Some people love dealing with square roots and looking at kind of like a regular equation, and we can do that here. That's the cool thing about math. There's 100 million different ways to do everything. So if I have 3x squared minus 75 equals 0. Well, this is in standard form, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it just a little bit. I'm just simply going to say, okay, I'm going to move this 75 negative 75 over, because I'm going to solve for x just like I would for an equation. So in this case, I have 3x squared minus 75 equals 0. I always draw my line of scrimmage. Then I just say, okay, plus 75, because I want to move that over, plus 75. I'm going to rewrite that. Bring the 3x squared down. I don't have anything left. That's gone. Equals 75. Well, just, if we were dealing with just a normal two-step equation, the process never changes in the way you deal with equations. So now I know I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Divide it, that leaves me with x squared equals 25. Well, I have x squared. I can't stop there, so my solution can't be 25. But what it can be is I take the square root, I go back now, square root, and that gives me x equals, and it can be positive or negative. Oop, let me erase that. Positive or negative 5. And you can test this on your calculator. If you put it in, you should end up with positive 5, negative 5 being your solutions. So let's do that just to look at it. And I believe it'll show it. So here, look, clear. So if I have 3x squared minus 75, that's a super low y-intercept. So it may, sometimes it'll go kind of crazy, but as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you count this side here on the negative side, and you have negative 5, because again, they're a reflection there. So you have positive and negative 5 as being your solutions. So it's just a little bit different way. Some of you may love it that way, and that's perfectly fine. So let's look at this one. We'll practice it this way. What I want you to do, go ahead and work this. Try to work this one out. See what solution you come up with, and we'll just see kind of what happens there. Alright, let me change color. That way I have just something different. Alright. Here, again, if you remember, I want to create my equation. Here, I want to add my 36 because essentially I'm just solving for m plus 36. That's gone. Bring the m squared down. M squared equals 36. The last step, do not forget to do this. Square root, m is going to equal positive or negative 6. Again, test it using your calculator. Double check yourself, and that way you know that you will have it right. Alright, here's another one. 3x squared plus 15 equals 0. So I want you to go ahead, if you're in class, go ahead and try to work this. If you're at home, go ahead and work this using the square root. Even if this is not your method, I want you to learn it to know it. It's always good to know different ways to do things. Alright, again here, I have a little bit different here. I can say 3x squared plus 15. Alright, so I know I got to move the 15. Well, when I do that, draw a line of scrimmage, minus 15, minus 15. That leaves me 3x squared equals negative 15. Divide both sides by 3. X squared equals negative 5. Alright, now here, you notice you come up with x squared equals negative 5. Well, and I take the square root, and the square root of negative 5, go ahead and figure that out. What is that going to be? Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't work, does it? So you come up with, you can't take the square root of a negative. So in this case, you have no solution. Again, if you look at it, I was working the square root way, but now if you look, you have a y-intercept of positive 15. So you know from the start, no solution here. Alright, on this one, what I would like you to do, go ahead and work this one out using the square roots. Alright, in this case, let's just work it out. Here, if I say 4d squared, I know I've got to get this side to 0, right? So I need, this time, I just simply have to say, okay, wait a minute. I need to get d by itself. If I'm going to work the square root way, I'll just say, okay, subtract the 16. I have 4d squared, because I subtract 16 minus 16 equals 0. Well, divide both sides by 4. D will equal 0. So my solution will be 0. Okay. And again, if I did it the other way and the graphing way, I would have subtracted 16 from this side first, and you'll end up with the same thing. It'd be 4d equals 0. And so again, you would end up with 0 as your solution. Alright. From here, in class, I'm going to go ahead and give you an assignment. At home, what I want you to do, go back through these problems just one more time. Make sure if there's any of them that you don't understand, or if you have any questions, write them down. That way you'll have them when you do come back to class.